Right immediately before the war, I was working for Consolidated Aircraft building B-24 bombers.
I was working for the railroad.
I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, grew up on a cotton plantation in the Mississippi Delta.
Oh, I worked in Detroit, Michigan, in a lot of factories, different factories. We made motors for PT boats.
I was a millwright machinist, and I served 3 apprenticeships, working 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, and maybe 8 hours at night school. So I had come up the hard way.
I ended up as a craftsman and watchmaker. Then I owned a jewelry store in Concord, New Hampshire.
I was going to Pasadena Junior College when Pearl Harbor got bombed, taking a course of aviation technology.
Before the war, I was going to school. Yeah, I went in at 16.
Being a bum, really. I wouldn't go to school, I wouldn't work. Finally, I just went in the Navy.
My military career started when I was 15 years old.
I enlisted.
I was drafted. Oh, I knew it was coming. There was no doubt in my mind, and I was just waiting for the day.
I was going to enlist, and then I took my folks to Phoenix, Arizona, and I went in from there. They called me, and they said, what do you prefer? And I said, I'd like to go in the Navy.
Yeah, I went down and tried to get in the Navy at that time, but they weren't taking anybody in, so I went home, talked to the wife, and I said, I'm going down and see about the Army. I became an Army person.
I saw a war coming on, and I just piddled around, and I drove an ice cream truck and everything else, till about June, when I enlisted.
I enlisted. It was called the Army Air Force at that time.
I was drafted. President of the company come around, he says, no, I'm going to let you go in the Army.
I got thrown in jail. They gave me 3 choices: go to work, go to school, or go to the Navy.
And because of that vast amount of experience, they made me a sergeant right away.
I signed up and learned to fly in the Navy and became a naval aviator, and eventually became a Navy dive bomber pilot World War II.
I was immediately sent to Camp Roberts and spent nearly 5 to 6 months up there. Received my MOS, my military operation number, which is a heavy machine gunner.
As a master watchmaker, they of course assigned me to an instrument lab. Unfortunately, the instrument lab had no mechanical instruments. It was all optical instruments. That figured. I learned optical instruments, BC scopes, until Pearl Harbor came.
I was told that I qualified to go to Army Specialized Training Program, but first I have to do my basic training.
Basic training was in Greenwood, Mississippi. I had a girlfriend in just outside Greenwood. On one Sunday I was practicing, and I chose to practice over her house. My father lived on a plantation outside Greenwood. So I did acrobatics, old B-7 trainer plane, and I did acrobatics and circles and so forth. Unfortunately, the colonel of the base was having Sunday dinner with her father, and those people waving at me, included him. So when I got back to base, there were a couple of MPs.
That boot camp was quite a deal. They gave us all kind of training, even practice throwing hand grenades. And I thought, well, I'm in the Navy, but they were, I guess, figuring someday when we invade Japan, we'd be able to go ashore and battle like the Marines or the Army.
Training was for military police, and that's something I worked in factories all this time now. I want to make a policeman out of me, you know.
We done a lot of training, crawling underneath barbed wire, and they were shooting real bullets, I know one of my buddies, he couldn't take it, and he raised his hand, and the bullet chopped his finger off. Oh. So there were real bullets,
Yeah, it was just basic training. I was only in the Navy 30 days when I was on a ship going overseas. 21 days, and then 3 days outgoing unit, 3 days in the destroyer base, and then on the ship.
We went by convoy. It was about 50 ships in a convoy, plus naval ships that were escorting us.
We were on the U.S. Remembrances on a unescorted 6-week tour zigzagging across the South Pacific and landed in Holanda, New Guinea 6 weeks later.
We were 50 miles out of San Francisco, and there were already Jap subs chasing us.
But I learned that tail gunners in the B-17s had about 2 minutes of actual combat in the 8th Airforce. And it made life very good from a boy from Mississippi. I slept on clean sheets every night, and we got medals whether they deserved them or not, and I had a good life.
The 8th was a glamour Air Force. The Memphis spell, they made a great big deal out of it. After 25 missions, we flew 50 quietly. They gave out medals like you wouldn't believe. We didn't get any to speak of.
They assigned me to the 1st Infantry Division.
During Normandy, you know, I was on the 2nd wave. Our job was to follow like the 3rd Army. After they took a town over, we stayed there and took control of the town or the area till another unit came and they took over, and we kept on going.
I was a sight setter on a 5-inch 25 gun. And there was no training. They said, go do it, and I went and did it.
Every night we'd hear boom, 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 and and we were right on the riverbank, and we started getting bodies, Japanese and Americans. We'd take them out of the water down there. Every day we'd go down and they'd find bodies floating down that river.
All right, I had a plane shot up pretty bad. So they gave me another plane, and it had 2 rebuilt engines, so I had to break these engines in. All of a sudden I look out to my wing, and there's a P-47. Tuskegee Airmen were killing themselves by going beyond the point of no return for helping us. I didn't realize who it was or what. But he saw me look and he called me and asked me, do you mind if I fly formation on you? I want to practice. I said, fine. It's all over the damn place. Finally, I had enough and I called him. I said, I'm going on down. I'm through. Why don't you come on down and have a drink? He got out of the plane and I was shocked. He was black as the ace of spades, which didn't bother me personally because I came from an area that we had no prejudice, but I was very concerned because the group I was in was made up mostly of people from Georgia and Alabama. You never saw anybody in your life more warmly welcome than that man was, that club.
This one time, it was like 12 o'clock midnight, and the moon was shining. It looked like daytime, you know, you could see everything, you know. So all of a sudden, the German plane came by, and they opened fire with the machine guns, you know. And there was a brick wall where we were standing, and so we're all spread out with our arms like that, and nobody got hurt, you know. And they say that men don't cry. Well, I cried, and not only me, we're, you know, scared, you know. I said, this is it.
You just can't believe the sky was so black with bursts, gun bursts, shell bursts, and planes go flying through them anyway. You're not really scared at the moment. I mean, you got a job to do, so you're doing your job. But afterwards, then you kind of get shaky. But it was nothing really scary about it when you're doing it. It's just afterwards when you're thinking about what could happen.
I always believe in prayer. I said, Lord, show me some sign or something. Lieutenant wanted us to go that way, and I said, no, we're going to go this way. He said, you're lucky because there was a unit, and they all got slaughtered. They all got killed. He said, you've done the right thing. I said, Lord, thank you. And from there on, he always said, Henry, which way?
It's not that I was really realizing what was going on. I mean, you're 17 years old, you don't really realize. But it sinks in after a while when you get shot at a little bit.
You're a sitting duck. You're in a hole and protecting others, but you're a target.
Areas where it was kind of swampy and The Germans gave us a hard time right there. There's a lot of shooting going on.
At night, they didn't say, who's here? They'd shoot first. They were really trigger happy. So we were afraid to get out at night, you know.
Yeah, and that was the scariest time of my life, really, when the kamikazes came over.
In Okinawa, and they have all these huge ships, and they have all these chemicals going to come in. So, well, what they would do, they have us make smoke, and some kind of oil or something. They burn it, and boy, it makes this clouds and clouds of smoke and hides the big ships.
Mostly I remember is the flak, black, almost like a cloud of bomb bursts out there when shooting down, trying to shoot down airplanes.
And this was really exciting. And I thought, wow, I said, this is just like in the movies. You hit a plane and hit a Japanese plane, they'll go down and crash into the water, black smoke and noise is unbelievable with all the guns blasting. This noise can just be this so loud and that.
My brother was a prisoner of war in Germany. I immediately went to the Red Cross, and the Captain Percival was there in charge that day. And he asked me if I was here for cigarettes. I said, no, sir. I said I was here to get information about my brother. And he came back. He says, the last minute details we have found about your brother, that he has been liberated by his own people, the Timberwolves. Immediately I got commissioned to call home, and word had been received. And he survived, but he was injured by his own troops. And he spent 6 to 8 months in hospitals up and down the coast. But I felt better because of the contact that I had made. You don't know why, because you don't answer that question. You don't even ask it because there's no answer.
I think the worst thing was the destruction of some of the communities and the cities that they had put up with, you know, as a result of the war, the bombings and so forth. It was just unbelievable. Our unit was assigned the job of gathering the Polish people who had been forced to come to Germany and work and so forth during the war, gathering them all together and forming groups to ship them back to Poland. You know, there was whole families, and it was just heartbreaking to see the conditions that they were living in, and more heartbreaking to help them get up into a boxcar for a 4-day trip home, you know.
We went into Germany and a part of Poland in there. Oh my goodness. When we got there, you had to put your handkerchief. They were dead already. They were all like logs, you know, on top of this car. And there was a big furnace. You know, they're Jewish people there. Yeah. So anybody tell me, it didn't happen, you know, they never happened. They never burned the Jews. Somebody made that story up. No, it's true. It's true because I saw it.
There was already had landed 3 or 4 waves in Iwo Jima, and then we went up to the beach. We covered for the Army and the Marines when they landed. So we were up to the beach, and the sad part was there was just dead bodies all over the beach. Yeah.
They all figured it would be the bloodiest warfare ever conducted on the face of the earth, because the Japanese, you know, were big at the time with kamikazes, suicide squads, but they had that set up for tanks, trucks, infantry, everything. It was going to be a suicide mission to protect the homeland. Well, of course, they dropped the A-bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and ended the war.
I would say the thought came as to the decision that the President of the United States made at that time, President Truman, of the tremendous strain that it put on him to do what he had to do, which saved a lot of us, enabled us to get home.
All of the fighting was almost over with, but we went into all of these areas and kind of wiped up the remains. And I ended up in Pilsen, Czechoslovakia, and that's where I was when the war ended.
And all of a sudden, all I remember was a bang. I woke up, I was in a field hospital. A couple days later, a lieutenant came with the nurse, and they pinned a Purple Heart on me.
We left Guam heading for Japan when they dropped the bombs.
Well, we made occupational duty in Hiroshima and both Nagasaki, and you couldn't help but see the destruction, because we were in there rather soon after the bombs. And I came home, and you wonder if I had enough radiation that I had been subject to 2 operations that I did have.
I was laying there in the hospital, and a nurse came. She was crying and hollering and screaming, and she kissed me on the cheek. She says, "The war's over."
Big celebration, and needless to say, Pilsen is famous for its beer, so we had lots of beer to celebrate. So,
When the war was over, yeah, I was happy to get home to my wife, and we had a little boy by then.
A lot of boys were getting shipped out because they had so many points. You could go home in a hurry.
We went back to the States. I got out on the point system, and those that were married, they got out first.
As time is fleeting, it grew impatient, and I took my points and went home, which I don't regret.
And I had 64 points. And so during that time, they put me to guarding Japanese prisoners.
and then one day the good word came saying, "Hey, you're out of here, you're going home."
Well, I feel great. They sent us back, there's 10,000 of us on USS United States. It was a cruise ship at one time.
It was such a great feeling to see the Statue of Liberty as we come into New York Harbor. Home again.
It made a man out of me, I'll tell you. I was a bum when I went in, but I was a man when I came out. And since I came out, I have never been out of work.
You become a mentor, which you grew up to be in a way. We realize that we are given life and life is taken. So you accept facts that lead up to that.
Omakayim, life is the difference between life and death. A razor's edge and the things that come on in life, you just have to take advantage of them and where they fall. And if you're good and you're lucky, you get better things, and if you don't, that's the way it goes.
Well, a lot of men, they couldn't take it. They went to drinking, you know. I never drank or smoked in my life, so I didn't bother with this stuff.
It was over with. I did what I had to do, and I went on with my life, and I had a wonderful life.
It's not like now. Nobody made a big issue about it. You get out of the service, and I was in trying to find a job, and hardly ever discussed it. And then all of once, and after I retired, then I heard a lot about it and made us all proud to be a veteran.
I'm very conscious of my past training that is reflected into my life at this later stages. As you well know, I become emotional, but I can be darn tough too.
I couldn't get that war thing. Before, I used to think about it all the time, and then I finally forget it. Now that I'm old, I'm always over there.
Well, we don't want to do it again.
World War II is the only war we've ever had.
War is no good, no matter what kind of war it is. And ever since I got discharged, I don't even want to touch a rifle, even for hunting. My boys, my daughters, they went hunting. I won't touch it.
I wish more people would realize the importance of what happened.
If we hadn't have fought back, we'd have been Japan now. When it comes time, do it, that's all.
It's a good discipline, particularly for those who came from areas and cultures that were not strong discipline. I would recommend it for anyone.
We did our job to save our country. And that's why we all joined.
There's a lot of people out there that call World War II veterans the greatest generation ever. And, you know, I'm beginning to believe it.